Hey, welcome back, ball fans. Some interesting news over on the hill this week, Bob.
Yeah.
Both as some new coaches coming into the fold,
Mm.
as well as some things happening in the world of college playoffs, and
Yeah.
that's a little confusing, a little bit. But we'll dive into that and let's see if we can confuse you a little less or a little more, as the case may be. Uh, Bob, what would you like to start with?
Well, let's talk about that playoff, Tim. You know, uh, we all knew something was coming down the pike pretty soon, and what we're going to discuss is not finalized yet. There's a lot of things that's got to be tweaked, but I think it's Ross Dellinger put this out, and he's pretty well connected when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Um, but they're looking right now either a 14 or 16 team playoff. Uh, we'll kind of discuss the 14 because we have a little bit more info on that as far as what that seems to be what they're shooting for. But I don't know
Well,
if it's 16 or not. But
yeah, there's nothing concrete. And they may go with the 16 simply because they might be able to renegotiate the contract under 16 that cannot under 14.
right,
And there won't really be no difference other than the fact that um, you have one, you will have one at-large team in a 14-team thing,
yeah,
but that's guaranteed to be Notre Dame if they're ranked 14th or better.
yeah,
Whereas in 16, you would have three.
yeah.
Um,
You know, I don't really know how I feel about all that yet. Um, I'm kind of a person that believes that we had too many teams in the playoff last year, but I know everybody's got a different opinion on that. Some people think, basically there's no number that's too big. They would be happy continuing it on the 20 something and 30 something.
I've seen people already calling for both.
Yeah, I just
Um,
to me,
I would not go that route. I don't have a big problem with 14. I don't have a big problem with 16.
I just
If
think
you've already got 12, I mean,
yeah,
you're almost there anyway,
right.
myself.
Well, I
But
thought 12's too many, but anyway. Uh, but is it good for Tennessee? And that's something we're going to discuss about. Is it fair? Because I think the last one we had issues with, and it proved to be accurate. Our issues with the last one.
yeah, this is something we've discussed um, quite often on this program. And so far, we've been more right than wrong.
Yeah,
So this will probably, even us up. Probably more wrong than right
could
on
be,
this one,
could
Bob.
be,
Um,
could be.
but there's a lot of twist in this right here because we're looking at possible 9-game SEC schedule, among other things,
Right,
possibly a SEC Big Ten Challenge Week.
right. That would be
Uh,
interesting.
there's a lot of things. So let's just start
Okay.
diving into
All
it,
right, let's
Bob.
get into it. First of all, let's look at the format for a 14 team thing. It looks like four uh,
Automatic qualifiers.
automatic, four, and when I say four, it's also four and only four. It's going to look like
Well,
most likely. I mean, could they be at that?
yes, they could.
Could Notre Dame
Yeah, Notre Dame
not
don't.
make it
Yeah,
in? Could there be another one?
they could
Yeah,
be fifth.
but it'd also be I would think probably more likely a non-group of five team in there or another
Another.
ACC. I mean, it's four teams from the SEC, four from the Big Ten, two from the ACC, two from the Big 12,
Notre Dame's guaranteed a spot if they're in the top 14.
right, and a non-group of five. Now, if Notre Dame don't make it in that, which is going to be slim chance they're not in the top 14, but if they're not, where does that other spot go to? It could go to any of those.
Right.
Would it be SEC?
Well, in a 16-team thing, it very well could be
Right.
because you'd have three at-large bids.
So the question is four enough? I heard somebody today say that might be too much. It's not too much. Not if you got 14
Yeah,
teams in.
exactly. If you're wanting to get, say, well, there's only 6 teams that's got a real shot at the title, then yeah, 4 teams is too much.
Right.
But if you're throwing out 14 teams, 16 teams, then four for the SEC, it's definitely not too much.
No, I mean I guarantee you, over the last 20 years, if you was to tell me what's the 14 best teams in the country, SEC had more than four.
Actually, if you go by the top 14, I think they averaged 4.8 in the final rankings.
Okay. So closer to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and that's half, and I would still say that it's probably more closer to 6, but, that's my SEC bias on that, I guess. But, the going to 9-game SEC.
Yeah, that would be part of this because we did not want to go to 9 games because we were concerned we would knock ourselves out of this a spot or two out of the playoffs. But if you've got 4 automatic qualifiers, you no longer have to worry about that.
That was our biggest disagreement with that before. We had a lot of disagreement with other people on that. But since we have a guaranteed 4 and basically probably an only 4, it kind of more or less irrelevant other than the fact that you're kind of beating each other up a little bit more, I guess. But
Right. And the word is there may be an agreement fairly soon between the SEC and the television provider to give us more money,
right.
which was another sticking point.
Another interesting thing in this thing is that's being proposed is a SEC Big 12,
Big Ten.
Big 10. Keep calling it Big 12. Big 10 matchup where we play each other.
Bob, I'd just like to point out one thing real fast,
Yeah.
people. Ever since we've talked about these formats,
Yeah.
Bob has repeatedly, continuously calls the Big Ten, the Big 12.
I don't know how I
I'll
do
bet you 14 times. But
yeah,
anyway,
right, yeah.
it'll be 15
Eventually-
before.
Eventually, I will get it right.
I doubt it.
Okay. I need to write it on a big piece of paper. Big 10.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. All right. That would be interesting. That is something that I thought was a good thing.
Well, we've talked about that
Yeah, I mean,
and how it would benefit the SEC probably.
yeah, probably would. I mean, we complained about last year Indiana not playing somebody. At least they'd have to play somebody in the big from the SEC.
Yeah. Whether it was last year though, it would have been
Vandy. Or
no, it wouldn't have been Vandy last year.
Yeah. No, not last year. They probably wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kentucky or somebody.
Yeah, probably would have been. Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that would be interesting. Good quality games. Now, one thing we thought was interesting about this is the amount of road games that
Yeah, with the 9-game SEC schedule, you're going to have every other year. You're going to have 5 road games.
right.
So that's a lot of colleges and the cities, the towns they're in on, depend on these home games.
Yeah.
Big financial movers and shakers for the motels, the hotels, the restaurants, the attractions in the area, and they need the extra home games.
Yeah. Now, if this SEC Big 12 thing,
10.
or Big Big 10, you're trying to. All right. The SEC Big 10.
Yeah, I am.
Write this down on a piece of paper. Big 10.
And I am not editing this out.
All right. All right. Big 10. All right. Let's try not to do this again. All right. With the SEC and Big 10 thing here, will that road game be also? Will we be playing a road game the same year that we have?
Yeah.
I mean, I hope not.
That's going to take some to jump through hoops to make sure, because you do not want to have 6 road games and only 6 home games. Any of these major conference teams would not want only 6 home games.
Right.
It's too big of a financial loss.
Yeah. And you talking about all that, what does Clemson and Florida State do? I mean, you got Clemson playing
South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina, and Florida playing Florida State.
Yeah, Georgia and Georgia Tech.
Georgia, yeah. I mean, which is becoming more of an actual, game now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that continues, but will they continue these rivalry games?
I don't think they have any way out of it, because in-state rivalry games like that so often are really determined up on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the State House.
Yeah.
And there's politically, it's almost impossible for these games to go away. So let's say South Carolina, 9 SEC games, and then they might play Michigan and still got Clemson to go.
Right.
And give them one cream puff.
Yeah.
And who knows, it might be a Citadel or something that ain't necessarily as cream puff for South Carolina some years.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah. What South Carolina's played, you know.
That's for you, Tim Wilson, if you watch this episode. So, uh, one other thing to consider too, Bob, in the SEC Big Ten matchups is when would these games be played? I'm assuming early in the year, simply because Big Ten has always had their conference schedule pretty much the last 9 games of the year, and they're out of conference first 3 games. Uh, Big advantage for the ACC if that's the case.
Yeah, I think it is. That is a big advantage because, you have Michigan, let's say, coming down and playing somewhere.
Let's say Florida.
Yeah, Florida, Georgia, wherever.
Yeah, wherever.
And, when it's 90-something degrees versus us coming up there and playing them when it's 20, that's a big advantage.
Yeah.
So, and I think that would be the way it would work because, they're traditionally, like you said, their schedules. But now they may want to rework that, and we'll be interested.
And they may, because I guarantee you, if they're going to have to go into the sweltering heat of Death Valley in early September,
yeah,
there's going to be a lot of schools up there going, let's bring them up to Champaign or Ann Arbor in November, late November.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, maybe they'll kind of work it in the middle of the season, which would be great. Really, I mean, that's probably a good time to do it. That way, everybody's happy. What else you got thinking about with this thing, Tim? Anything other points that you think is interesting?
Well, there is. There's a lot of conjecture on how would you do the championship games. There's a thought process out. One of the ideas being floated, which I found interesting. I'm not saying I agree on it or whatnot, but would be for the ACC in their championship game, instead of number 1 and number 2 playing each other for the conference title, the number 1 team would just grab the title, and the number 3 would play the number 6, and the number 4 would play the number 5. You'd actually have 2 games, and the winners would be the 3rd and 4th automatic qualifiers from the SEC.
Right. Which, isn't too bad. I mean, it sounds pretty decent. Now, I will say, you and made a good point about this. If I'm the number 3 team, and I'm a clear-cut number 3, I'm
pretty mad if I get upset.
Yeah, if I'm playing the number 6 and I get knocked out playoffs, I'm not going to be too happy since I was the clear-cut number 3. You know what I mean?
Well, there's always somebody going to be sad, and quite often it's Big Orange fans. So,
right. Yeah. Anything else with that, Tim?
Well, just that this is all conjecture at this point.
Yeah.
There is something coming down pretty soon. SEC and Big Ten ADs meet Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Probably after this episode will probably already will not be put out until probably after they meet.
Yeah.
Big 12 meet this week. ACC met last week. Everybody's meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and they have to have this stuff finalized, I think, by next month.
Yeah.
The one thing we won't see is obviously nothing changes for this year. This is a year from now.
Right. Yeah.
And they have to get
point out.
Yeah, and they have to get TV people on board because they're not going to do any of this if there's not more money coming in.
Yeah, and that's what this is all about, really, with the whole rev sharing and all this other money stuff that's needed, the NIL and all this other stuff. It is all about money, and that's what's going to be the driving thing with this. It's not about is this a better product? It's going to be all about money. Which that's pretty much the way it's always been. But I think it's driving it even more so. I think now. I think they'll do stuff that actually hurts them if it will.
Well, they have before. They have before, that's for certain. Bob, let's dive into some coaching news over on the end. We've got some new names, some old names, new contracts that have expired. I'll let you start on that one too.
Yeah, like we said before, Coach Chalk has basically took over the Leo spot there. And that wasn't a really surprise. He's a guy who's very good recruiter, been coaching with Ronnie Garner. That was something that was almost a given, we felt like.
Yeah, but his recruiting chops on the recruiting
Yeah.
trail
Exactly.
as the deciding factor probably in
And
that.
I think he's a
Probably,
really good coach as well.
yeah.
2-year deal on that one.
A slight increase from what he was making. He was making very good last year
Yeah.
as an analyst.
Mr. Martinez, just to throw out, another couple contracts. Martinez, he got a 2-year deal, and our strength coach got a 1-year deal, which was a little bit surprising.
Well, neither one got raises to begin with.
Right.
I'm a little with Martinez. The rumor's been for him for a while now that he's almost ready to retire. He just don't know exactly when.
Mm-hmm.
So I was surprised to see a 2-year deal there.
Right.
And Smith, I'm a little surprised with that too, because
I kind of felt like we was pretty good in strength conditioning, better than we was
well, I think
many other years anyway.
I've heard that well, apparently though, maybe not this year, but him and Heupel has been pretty close, pretty connected. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any ripples there. So, but the 1-year contract does surprise me. Um, Moving on to guys who are not going to be part of the full-time coaching staff.
Right.
They're still analysts, although one of them does have a title now.
Evan Crabtree, he got a 3-year deal, which I thought also was kind of interesting. Young guy, 27, 28 years old, I believe. He's been on staff already.
Yeah, for a while, and has had a large hand in the special teams.
Right. So they must really feel highly of him to give him a 3-year deal, and wanted to keep him on staff like that. But the new guy is John Bonamigo, I think is pronounced his name.
Say it real fast, and people won't tell you if you got it wrong.
Bonamigo.
There you go.
All right.
I was going to say John, but
John, right. A guy with tons of special teams experience.
An older gentleman, around 61.
Yeah. I think he's coached at, was it 6 or 8 different NFL teams?
6 NFL teams, sometimes as analyst and sometimes as the coordinator.
Right.
Has had a good career at the collegiate level also.
Yeah.
Was recently, not too many years back, the head coach at, I believe, Central Michigan, I believe it was. He's got a good reputation. Only a 1-year deal, though.
Yeah. So that was interesting as far as it being a 1-year deal. But, like you said, it could be just the fact that he's getting ready to retire or whatever.
It very well could be. So
But,
that's a
to get a guy of that kind of experience, even
yeah. You come here, bring him in to kind of continue to train Crabtree.
yeah,
Feels
to me that was a really good hire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a quality pickup for an analyst.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a good deal there. What else you got, Tim?
Bob, that's about it for me today, other than telling you that it is the Big 10, not the Big 12.
Yes, okay, I'm starting to figure that out. And as we're recording this, the baseball team is smacking around UNC Asheville, and one of the guys we were saying that had some pressure on him because of all the freshmen, Dalton Bargo just hit his second home run
In the same inning.
In the same inning,
Yeah.
so
And the second one was a grand slam.
grand slam. So not a bad inning for him. Apparently
He's fighting for his job.
yeah,
He's like, boys, don't forget about me yet.
well, I think Tony V's got a problem there with all this talent there. So it's going to be interesting. I think his team's going to be really good. But with that said, Tim, I think it's time to say the old Go Vols. And remember, guys, like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell.
Share with a friend and go Big Orange.
Go Big Orange.